Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the MotUS Edge. We're super excited to be here today. I have Cole and Casey with me, and our special guest is Carmine Silano from CheerSounds. Welcome on.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Had like a really jazzy music intro having him on. We should have had something ready.
Yeah, I'll pull something out quick.
Yeah,
maybe something holiday related.
Speaking of music intros, CheerSounds actually made our podcast intro and outro. So shout out to CheerSounds and Carmine for that.
Thanks. Shout out to Jeff in the office. He did most of the work on that.
Awesome. Go Jeff. Maybe we should have Jeff on someday.
Yeah, we don't know Jeff.
We don't know Jeff. So what have you been up to lately, Carmine?
This is the heat of the season. We're coming to the close of the heat of the season now, but really September, October, November are just, that's like the flood zone of custom music and online ordering and all of that. So, you know, around Christmas, we get a little bit of a breather, but then it picks up again for January. But that's it. At this time of year, it's music. There
used to be like lulls in the season, I feel like, for all of us. And now it pretty much is Christmas, and that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. I used to say the summertime was like our break. I used to feel like to some degree, but no, you're right. There is no break anymore.
Well, there can't be. There's no lulls in the bills. The bills don't stop coming, so the business can't stop happening. So
that's the truth.
I won't brag too hard then that we slow down in March, April, May, June. It's kind of a free for all, but
hey.
So Carmine, with all the different music that you do, what's the breakdown in between like all-star school, college? Obviously, I'm sure you're all-star heavy, but do you do a little bit of everything?
All-star's 35% of the market.
Wow.
Yeah. So is that
the majority of the market's in K through 12?
Okay.
K through 12. Pop Warner makes up about 2,600 teams. I don't remember AYC's numbers, but high school, K through 12, let's say. K through 12 is where the beef of the business is at.
Wow. I did not realize that.
All-Star's about 35%. But
awesome.
10,600 or so all-star programs, USASF at least. And competing high schools, about 40,000 out of 106,000 public schools of 40,000 private schools. So a lot of them don't compete, which is interesting. There's a lot of room for growth in there.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting that you have gone after and captured a lot of that school business, because I could be wrong, but I feel like some music producers may only focus on the all-star, which is fine. But to your point, you got to study the business, and it sounds like that there's a lot more meat on the bone, so to speak, on the school side.
Dude, and I totally love that you had those numbers just like right on the tip of your tongue. You're speaking my language. I love that.
Hey.
So much.
Yeah.
So what would you say, in your estimation, how many competitive high school teams are there?
Across private and public, I'm estimating there's 40,000, but by competitive, that can mean many different things.
Yeah, but
it doesn't necessarily mean they go to states. You know, it could just be regional or against a rival school for fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it could be that they're doing a halftime performance. That
I was going to say, a lot of times,
for,
100% they get mixes for that as well, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. That's surprising.
So how did you... Sorry, go ahead, Carmine.
There really is no comprehensive survey to give great accuracy to all of these numbers. A lot of it is extrapolation based on a lot of years of data versus publicly available data. So we can say, well, wait, if we've serviced X number of schools, this is how many remain. There are some consulting companies where you can purchase information like, give me all of them that have a cheerleading program. Through other suppliers or vendor lists, things like that. So I try to get as much data as I can to understand the market cap, and then see.
Nice.
From that we can set budget of let's try to obtain 20% of that, and such from there.
So tell us a little bit about young Carmine. Who was young Carmine? Where did he go to college? And how did you get into the music mixing biz to begin with?
Wait a minute, Stace. I don't feel like we're looking at an old guy here. So.
This is true. I should say
I turned
younger.
40 a few days ago. So
I can't younger Carmine.
I can't be eligible for the under 40 awards anymore.
I also turned 40 a few days ago.
Same.
Days ago.
Goodness. Well, that's a fun question. Really, my whole childhood, so I was adopted into an Italian family from an Italian family. Those details aren't incredibly relevant, but my dad was a police officer. My mom was a school teacher. And then she became a guidance counselor, but she was the academic. My dad, as a police officer, spun up this business almost as a joke. It was kind of during the race riots of the 70s. He learned how to silkscreen print from his uncle. I don't really know the whole story, but somehow he learned how to put ink on a T-shirt. And so he had made some shirts during that time, but the integral one, the key one was he made a T-shirt that said NYPD.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
And at the time, you didn't really wear a T-shirt. You wore a button down, Yeah. T-shirt was a little too casual. But he made a shirt that said NYPD, and then he made a shirt that said FDNY. That sprouted a business. So on the side, he moonlighted printing T-shirts. That became his second career. For 36 years, he ran a textile shop that printed for the Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets, Islanders, and Rangers. So it's all the New York teams.
That's pretty
So
awesome.
He learned that from his Goomba then, that would turn.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing formal about the education, I'll say. So my mom was really structured academia, and my dad never went through college, but he would sell coal on the street door to door, vacuums or cardboard. And then he got into police academy at 21. And somewhere along that path, this NYPD T-shirt came in, and he went, wait a minute, we could put ink on shirts. And so he gives me all of my entrepreneurial guidance. At 9 years old, he threw a computer on the floor that he got out of a dumpster. I think it was from his office. And he said, learn this, it's the future. And that was it.
I love that.
It didn't work. It didn't power on, and I didn't learn a darn thing from it. But he did buy me some programming books that were well over my head. But I don't know, something about that was inspiring is the wrong word. I was curious about it. And I had an uncle who was a nuclear engineer, and I always thought he was the smartest human on earth. So, I was like, I want to be smart like him. And, I want to have a business like my dad. And I love computers. And so there's not too much to it other than just obsess over that topic for my whole childhood. So I was writing software, little AOL color faders and chat bots and stupid things that got me in a lot of trouble.
So a lot of times, that's the thing of becoming an expert at anything. It's often not our intellect, but it's the amount of time we spend with it. You start
for sure. For sure, there is
10,000 hours, and next thing you know.
Carmine, my dad is a first generation Italian here in the US, and he had a sheet metal fabrication shop that he just recently sold, but he used to do all kinds of sheet metal. And I worked there doing all kinds of different things as a kid, but you got me thinking when you were talking about the Yankees and all the different stuff. So we are on the Philadelphia side. So we always root for the Philly sports teams. And I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, the metal barrettes were like really popular. And so he, for the Philadelphia Flyers, actually used to paint and print like metal because he was a sheet metal fabricator. He could do that. And so he would paint the barrettes white with the Flyers logo on it. So he actually did stuff for the Flyers way back in the day too. That's funny.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep going. Go from getting a computer that didn't work, then you ended up doing some programming. Then where'd you go to school? And then how in the world did you start doing cheerleading music?
Sure. So in high school, computer science was we didn't call it computer science, it was just programming, But I was showing an interest into it, and I didn't care for art at all. So the principal allowed me to replace all of my art classes for the 4 years of high school with additional computer classes. So we took C++, Visual Basic, and I think that was it, to be honest. Maybe there may have been one other. And so I was awarded the Computer Science Award at graduation of high school. So I was shopping around for colleges to pursue computer engineering. I ended up I considered RPI, Rensselaer, that's RPI, RIT, Drexel, Northeastern University, and a few others that I didn't get into because they were beyond my academics. I chose Northeastern University up in Boston. Cool. I switched in my first year from computer engineering purely to computer science because it was the software side that I was interested in rather than the hardware side. I feel like I didn't learn a darn thing about computer science in college. Kind of went in front loaded with a lot of background. But it was a 5-year school, so the middler year is your third year. In my middler year, I was in the gym. I was doing dips, and this looked like a kid, but he's a college kid, comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, you play any sports?" No. He goes, "You ever tried cheerleading?" And I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Never knew such a thing as a male cheerleader
when
existed.
I got asked that.
It wasn't a popular thing on Long Island. Our cheer teams were all girls. So he said, "Yeah, you ever tried cheerleading?" I said, "No, dude." I don't even think I responded. I thought it was a joke. And he's like, "No, serious, you should try it." Now, I never liked team sports. I tried them all. It just didn't jive with me. I like anything where I was solely responsible for my own outcome. I don't know what seed makes me afraid of team sport, but I like independent activity. Anyway, he was super adamant, like unbelievably adamant. "You've got to come to practice. Can I get your number?" I don't know why I gave this kid my number. Nothing good could come of this, but maybe just to make him go away, I gave him my number. He texted me or called me, I don't remember. "I told the coach you're going to be there for Monday practice." I'm like, "Why would you do that?" "I'm not going, man." He's like, "Just come by. We practice in the quad outside. Just come and watch." Fine. It's literally across the street from the gym. Generally, I'm just going to segue for a second. I fall for the upsells all the time. When I pull up to Chick-fil-A, if they say, "Would you like to try the peach frosty?" my brain's like,
"You're getting it."
Yeah, that sounds great. So I think that characteristic plays a role into like, you should come by, check it out. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll try. So I'm sitting on the bench, I'm watching them stunt, and my mind is like, oh my gosh, this is cool. "You like lifting weights? Well, this is it. You can lift humans." And I got really excited about like this superhuman presence of it. I know it sounds a little silly, but coming from never seeing this before, it was very impressive. And then this girl, Stephanie Novello, she comes over to the bench, she grabs my wrist, she goes, "Come try it." So they were recruiting. I didn't catch on. I was a little slow. It was a recruitment thing. That's why they were stunting on the grass. And
I was just going to say, I think every cheerleading squad in the 80s and 90s in college stunted and practiced on the quad, and it was all a recruiting tactic. Like, we did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And so year-wise, this is 2005. And that was kind of it. They're like, "We're going to camp in 4 days. You're coming with us, right?" And it was at UMass.
What else do I have to do?
So somehow, I honestly, when I say this story, I'm like, this is not something you would ever really do. But I did it. I went to camp. I had a good time. I liked the idea of throwing humans in the air. I wasn't any good at it. I got all right at it in hindsight. I mean, toss libs, toss awesomes. It ended there. I really couldn't go past that. But I was solid. I had the point flyer in 2005 at NCA.
Nice.
That was exciting. So, okay, I studied computer science. I minored in music industry. That was an accident. I never went home during the summer breaks. I just kept taking classes over summer. And I wanted to use the practice rooms to use the piano because I played piano from age 11 and on, classical generally.
Cool.
I wanted to use the practice rooms, and they said, "You can't unless you're taking a music class." So I said, "Fine, put me in theory, whatever." You know, so I was good at theory from learning that guitar instructor and piano instructor. So I was taking theory classes. By the time I was graduating, the office of the music department said, "You're like 1 credit away from having a music industry minor." And I'm like, what does that even mean? What is music industry? It felt like a catch-all, you know? Yeah. So I said, "Can I do a focus?" And they said, "Yeah." And I picked music recording as a focus.
I think they were upselling you too, Carmine.
I know.
Right?
So
The
bad.
upsell again. One more degree. One more minor.
I'm sure you guys are going to hit me with one or two before this is over as well. So, so I took recording 1 and 2 and music production engineering. And then finally I needed music industry 101, which was like the last class I ever took. So it's funny to do it backwards. Okay, so how does this all tie together? Sorry, I give long-winded stories.
No, you're good.
Right after music industry class, I had cheer practice. And so when we spent a week on licensing, and I went to practice, and I'm looking at Coach Lori, and I'm just sort of generalizing, she don't know anything about licensing. What are we listening to? This has music, movie clips in it. It's got weird voiceovers. All these songs are ripped off of something. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, you can't really do that. Oh, well, let's do that. And we made music for our team and a few other teams in the Boston area. I say we because I met Stephen Pollack on that team, Northeastern University, who runs IPP Music. Yeah. And we remain good friends to this day. So we made the music for the team that year. But that's how the whole story came together. How did I get into cheerleading? How did music tie into it? And the computer science background, which will play into what we talk about later.
So I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. You've got a keyboard back there I see in the corner. Can you play for us?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. At this moment, all that's powered down. Maybe we could set up a
easy excuse. Upsell, Carmine. Upsell.
Happy to play for you anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime we go to the events, I look for a piano in the hotel, and then I play until somebody tells me I can't play anymore.
I've heard you play a couple times. You at one of the conferences, I believe at USASF, you brought in
I wasn't making that up.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just found Stacy. So we just realized that Carmine, Stacy, and I live in the same city. We do our big Christmas event every year. I think we just found our entertainment. We can come in and play the music for us.
Right.
Heck
Don't
yeah.
worry, it's okay. I'll work the party. So
Heck yeah.
We're only a few days out from that. So, Cole,
Carmine, I actually used to play the piano as well, but I, unlike you, I feel like it was a learned skill and I haven't done it in 20 years. So I'm slow at reading sheet music these days, unfortunately. But I was actually pretty decent when I played in middle school and high school.
I play nothing, and I can't clap on beat. So
yeah, I'm the
guy.
Same as Stacy. I can't even do the 8 counts right.
I'm the guy at church that I just move my lips. I don't really clap because people start staring at me because they're like, "Dude, you're not on beat." I have no rhythm.
I offended my mom by accident when I was younger. My mom is tone deaf. Not. And I was young and I said something awful along the lines of, like, stop singing, it doesn't sound any good. Or like just something gross that I'm embarrassed of. And my mom never opened her mouth again to sing. And then in college, I was incredibly apologetic. Like, Mom, just sing. Like, enjoy it. It doesn't matter if it sounds. Nobody really sounds good.
I think I inherited my tone deafness from my mother. I have never told her that, and I don't think she watches or listens to podcasts. I think I'm safe there, but I've thought about telling her. so I understand. Man, I think it's really cool. I'm just thinking about some similarities here between the four of us. We all pretty much got recruited to cheer. At least the guys got recruited to cheerleading the same way. And then Stacy was probably recruiting guys. That was just part of it. I was early 90s. But that was happening 10 years later, the same way. That's still how the guys were pulled into it, man. And then once you get sucked in, like, it's kind of like you're in cheerleading. So, which is a cool thing, but also just all of us being entrepreneurs, we like Stacy mentioning, her father, and Carmine, your father. And I know Cole's mom owned a gym, and I actually grew up in the gas station business of all things, but we owned gas stations. So, that's something that also gets in your blood. Once you kind of taste that entrepreneurial spirit, then it's in you, and you just, you have it. So pretty cool.
That story doesn't continue with me in cheer. I graduated college. I worked at an all-star gym, just spotting, flipping kids, and then assistant coach with Steve at North Shore Cheer Explosion in Wakefield, Mass. But when I graduated, that was it. I went done with that. And I moved down to Florida, worked on some DoD contracts, wrote software for an Air Force project and an Army project, which is really, really cool, rewarding work. But looking around the room, I'm seeing guys sitting in cubicles for 25 years.
Yeah.
I was there for 4 years. It scared the heck out of me. Be like, I know it's a good job. I got no complaints, but where does it go? And I suppose you can climb the ladder if you wish to. You can stay technical if you wish to. But at that moment, honestly, it made me go like this. Like it made me say this. I don't want to get caught in this. And at the time, Steve was still making music on the side. He was pursuing a DEA job. And I won't tell his own, his story is his story to tell. But along the way, it was like, wait, you're doing cheer music and you're making some money with it? And I thought that was really fascinating. Fascinating. Cheer music can make money. And why, and what about it, and how do you, so that then the gear started turning, and that was several years later. So there was definitely a gap where I thought I was done with cheer, never looking back, never going back, never being in the industry.
I was just going to use it as a stepping stone. It was going to be the stepping stone to this career that I had no idea what that career was going to be. And then,
I ended up coming back to it. I'm sorry, Casey, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. But all of us, I don't think, especially when we're a little bit older than you, or I'm a lot older than you. But when I was getting started, it was almost unfathomable to think of making any kind of cheer as a career. It might be a side gig or, something that you're passionate about. But even the gym business at that time, because we were talking about this before it started, but there were such lulls in the business. Like, it was almost impossible to keep the doors open on a gym during the summertime because everybody took off, and then that would hit again in December. By the time you caught up on bills, December would come and nobody came, and the bills just kept coming. So, it was hard to fathom at the time. And now it is just, the sport is huge. People love it.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about for a while, Casey, but I was thinking about that, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, is how there used to be waves in the business so much. You'd have these really good, highs and these really low lows. And even with Premier, when we were starting, like, we would have great months, then terrible months, then great months. It's kind of all leveled out now, I think, as the business has evolved, that people have really, learned how to, stay profitable year round and do it. And really, a lot of it's just cash management and managing your cash flow and knowing that, hey, in the month of December, we're probably not going to do great at the gym level.
Yep. I know, Carmine, that you had a pretty serious life-changing event. And if you're willing to share that with us, I would love to talk about that. I just think it's so remarkable what you were kind of able to overcome and keep your business, growing and thriving. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about that story with us if you're willing.
Yeah, sure. Now I am. I kept it quiet. At the time, I told almost not a soul. In 2019, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, oligodendroglioma, somewhere between a stage 2, stage 3. And it's about the size of a robin's egg, so a little smaller than a regular egg. It's on my left temporal lobe over here, which I have a surgery scar from hiding under there somewhere.
Wow.
So I had to... Being tech-oriented, I went shopping for a neurosurgeon who I felt would do a reasonable job. The first guy I went to, his name was literally Dr. Payne, and he said, no surgeon would operate on this. And I went, next, we're out the door. And eventually found a doctor who was 38 at the time, was young, but he was like... had so much history of operating on complex brain tumors. Mine was not considered complex. So I'm like, oh, good. Give me the guy who does the complex stuff, and mine will be a cakewalk for him. It's sort of maybe a naive thought, but nonetheless, it made me feel comfortable. I met with him. He was very tech oriented. And I said, look, I want to know everything I can so we can predict the outcome of this thing, which is sort of like asking a question that can't be answered. But we did a whole series of tests for 3 months before the operation date, which they felt had to be done soon. I found out about it because I was having focal seizures on my right arm. They were getting more frequent. And they were not just limited to my right arm anymore. It was affecting my thoughts. Like part of my brain would shut off. And this would happen at all different times, like while I was driving a car. It happened at work and I'd just be like, oh man, I'm dizzy. I need water, I guess. Or when my arm would go numb and be like, oh, it must be an old back injury from all that darn cheerleading. And ultimately, it became very evident that this wasn't a back injury because I was getting confusion, like massive confusion, and the whole right side of my body was going numb. So, they did all the tests, functional MRI, EEGs, and mapped out this 3D model of the brain so that they could say, this is where the tumor is. It overlays these functions of the brain. We're going to operate. So they did the operation. It was 11 hours long. Before we prepared for this to be an awake surgery. So they woke me up somewhere in the middle. I brought a keyboard with me. When I woke up, my head was screwed to the table, which isn't how I started. And all my IVs were on my right arm, which isn't how I started. And I was very foggy at the time, and I was playing some jazzy stuff on the piano while surgery was going on. They were doing this to make sure that they didn't cut out more than they needed to. Apparently, all the tissue to a human looks the same. On an MRI, you can see damaged and not damaged. But as they keep cutting and vacuuming and sucking out part of your brain, swelling happens, bleeding happens, and it becomes very indistinct. Where does the tumor end and where does good tissue start? So, part of our plan was we're going to make sure we don't touch motor because the tumor never touched motor. Therefore, if your motor skills start getting screwed up, we're stopping there. That's our boundary. I have some video of it, and I was really woozy, and I was playing a jazzy thing, and the surgeon said, did you play something we recognize just so we know if it's correct or not? Which I thought was a mild insult. But anyway, I played Mary Had a Little Lamb. And as I played it, and it's on video and it's so hilarious, I slurred to the doctor, is that the kind of crap you listen to? Which in hindsight, I'm very embarrassed of. But,
hey, that's a bold move to
I think that's great.
Insult your neurosurgeon while your cranium is open. Yeah. So,
and then the reason that all the IVs were on the other arm is they said you got feisty, but they wouldn't give me any more details. Apparently, I ripped out my IVs and I was trying to do something physical, and so they screwed me down to the table, and so I have extra scars in my head that have nothing to do with the surgery and more have to do with restraining me. So the part that is applicable to MotUS and conversation about business, knowing I'm going to have a long recovery, or not knowing if I'm even waking up, not knowing what the aftermath's going to look like. During those 3 months of prep and tests, it was really, are all your processes in place? Because I'm not going to be here anymore. Which isn't how it worked. I still work here, obviously. But I had to think that way. I took money from the business and I started buying houses because if, this business might not be something my wife wants to inherit and run. So I bought a bunch of rental properties because, that's alternative. They're just chalk it up to alternative. But inside the office, fortunately, I had already been following OKR processes, right? Measure what matters. Business was built on Blue Ocean. We could talk about that another time. But measure what matters in the OKR processes, objectives, key results. Top has objectives, and the employees fill in their own key results, actions they're going to take to fill in their own space into the organization. That saved us. I don't want to pretend I came in with a whole new set of ideas in 3 months and reprogrammed the whole business. No, the OKR architecture had the business running so that my objectives were already defined. Okay, my personal tasks had to be delegated. But everybody else's was already living in the OKR system. So essentially, our key objectives were, I don't even know if I should say these on program. We wanted our software, the build your own music thing, to be an integral part of a team's practice. It was like a goal. Now, how did you spread that down through every employee in the company? So the GM she defines some goals of how we're going to accomplish that. And then she delegates those goals as objectives for the people that she oversees. And the organization's not very deep. After that, you have a music crew and you have a software crew and a customer service crew. And the admin manage all the paperwork and billing and stuff. And the GM makes sure everything's happening properly. The GM position didn't exist at the time. So that was new from me going to surgery. I used to do that role. But I really want to credit it to the OKR process. So I come out of surgery.
Incredible.
And cut me off at any time if you.
That's incredible.
It's an incredible story.
The system. Because this fits. Sorry to interrupt you. It just fits so much of what we speak to our listeners. So much what we speak to gym owners. Because, in the early days, we all built these gyms that we thought they were based on just us, and so many gym owners get their start there. And they're doing everything from answering the phone to scheduling to collecting the money, and they're the head coach. But then, you mentioned something like this, and gosh, if we run into things in our life that can change that, then your business goes away. We've all heard that cliche. If you can't walk away from your business for 2 weeks or a month, then you truly don't own a business, and that's true. And for you to have the foresight, before you were even ill, you had already put in a lot of the work building the system. So, this does really hit home with what we believe in.
Certainly. The process didn't come out of me making wonderful decisions all the way. It came out of 2016 was a brutal year. Brutal. We had a lot of business. In hindsight, it's not, but at the time, it was more than we ever had. And producers would be leaving, going, "Okay, I finished my work for the day," and they'd leave and be like, "Wait, there's a whole mix that was overlooked." And you can't just sneak that in somewhere. And so then you're staying up all night doing that. Look, things broke down. And it was really out of things breaking down and me saying, that is unacceptable. This has to be corrected. So Blue Ocean got you there. Oh, there's another good book. What got you here won't get you there. Blue Ocean got us there, but then after that, man, business organization means something. It doesn't mean anything when you have no employees, or maybe it means a little bit, but not really. But now I got a room full of people that are on the payroll, and my uncle, remember the nuclear physicist that my uncle I had? So I brought him down from complaining to him about some problems in the business at that time. He was in California. He flew in. And he says, "I'm going to do an audit on your business. Stay out of the way." Okay. He interviewed he interviewed every single one of my employees for a while. And I saw him standing over everybody's computer, and he's taking notes, and he's asking questions, he's doing all these things. And then at the end, he interviews me. How does an order get processed? Where do the voiceovers come from? And it was, again, a very long process. He wrote down for each employee what they felt their role was and how they execute their processes. And then he wrote down how I thought their role was and how they execute their processes. And what we ended up with is every disconnect in the business mapped out on a piece of paper. It was unbelievable.
That's pretty awesome.
So in his career, he worked for General Dynamics, TRW, Northrop Grumman. He managed about 1,200 people. He brought that expertise into my business to say, your processes that your employees are doing are not the processes you think they're doing. The reason we don't have to discover the reason. I'm just telling you they're not happening. And here's how you fix it.
Man, this ties in back to your analogy on you were an individual sport guy, and then you moved to cheerleading, which was team sports. I mean, that direct correlation right here. You know, we start out, it's and I don't know exactly how you started out, but I know a lot of music producers, you know, I tried to be one for a minute. It's hard to be when you're tone deaf, but you know, it's one man and a laptop and a program, you know, and then next thing you know, you've got a team. So pretty
this is also fascinating. My brain is still on the moment that you were playing the piano whilst having brain surgery. Like, what?
I mean, it's not, you know, a concert. It was more to make sure my motor skills function.
But still, and you said it just like, you know, it's just another Tuesday. Like, just...
So we all meaning my family, myself, and the doctor and the team all went in incredibly objective. We have a goal. We're doing a surgery. We're going to do everything that we can to have the best outcome, as well as the most accurate predictions, so that we can begin planning what happens if you wake up. I woke up during intubation, during an intra-surgery MRI. This has not too much to do with the story, but I just remember I opened my eyes and this tube down my throat. And I remember thinking, you're not supposed to be awake right now. And I went back to sleep. but and in the end, ultimately waking up from it, it was like, okay, that part of the goal is done. Now we need to move on to the next part, which is I need to recover. So it was very objective the whole way. I only had one emotional breakdown during the entire thing, which was during recovery. I couldn't drive because I couldn't feel the right side of my body. And so even though I could move it, I couldn't feel the pedals. And I came very close to crashing one really nice exotic car into another nice car in my own driveway, just trying to move cars around. And so I said, all right, I'm going to relearn how to drive. And I bought a steering wheel and pedals for, you know, computer video game. And I had to reach under it to put a wing nut on to hold the pedals in place. But I lost my proprioception during surgery. So I don't know where my arm is if I don't see it, only on the right side. So I was reaching under with my right arm and I couldn't see where it was. I couldn't tell where it was. I could feel the wing nut, but I had no idea where it was. And I couldn't reach where it needed to be, and I didn't realize that my arm was jamming into the frame of the thing, and like I didn't feel any of it. So I was super frustrated. I can't even put a darn wing nut on a screw. And I went to go down the stairs essentially to just vent to my wife, and I fell down the stairs and I crashed through the dog gate. That was my bottom. That was my like one and only emotional like, and it was almost a relief to be like, you found your pit. Now you're going to climb out of it.
Yeah, there you go.
And you sure did. I mean, really, like, it's remarkable. I think that it's just a remarkable story. And it's not something that I feel like was easy to do. You're making it sound very easy. But I know it was not easy. It was necessary, maybe, but not easy.
You can only control what you can control. There's a lot of luck and faith and blessing involved in my recovery. Not everybody has the same story. That part's out of my control. But man, if I'm still here, you know, like I say with the business, I'm still here. I got to do something. You got to climb your way up.
Pretty remarkable.
I think that maybe you need to come tell this story at next year's MotUS Business Expo. That's what I think.
I think so too.
If you'd like me to, I'm more than happy to.
And so all of this, just like I said, it really relates. So, but before we move on, are we ready for? I'm going to take a little second and tell everybody about MotUS, and then we got some more questions for you, Carmine. So,
sure.
Owning a gym doesn't have to be lonely. Join the movement today. MotUS is a powerhouse community of gym owners who share, support, grow together. Inside the MotUS Vault, you'll unlock ready-to-use templates, fresh resources, exclusive discounts with partners like Infinity, Vault Event Media, CheerSounds, and much, much more. In addition, you'll receive 15% off of our Prime Alliance event producers, All Out Brands, Winner's Choice, World Cheer Company, All Day Cheerleading, American Spirit Championships, CX brands, and your membership includes 2 seats to the MotUS Business Expo Conference in Nashville, Tennessee each year. 2 days of business growth, leadership, networking, free with your membership. Ready to level up your gym game? Join MotUS today at joinmotus.com. That's JOINMOTUS.com. I spelled it right today. That doesn't always happen. So. And now, my favorite time, dad joke. Dad joke. Here we go. Carmine's pretty smart. He might be able to figure it out. So, why can't you trust an atom? Why can't you trust an atom? ATOM, not a person named Adam.
Carmine's really thinking hard.
I overthink.
Come on, Carmine, you can get it. Be the first one to get it.
Atoms can split into quarks. Atoms have orbits around them, electrons. I'm not going to get this right. I don't know.
Why, Casey?
Why, Casey?
Because they make up everything.
A great dad joke.
Okay,
that's a good one.
I like that.
Super good.
Hey, be sure to send us your favorite dad joke. We'd love to share them. We've actually had a good amount of people send in some dad jokes. So you can email those to Stacy at joinmotus.com. That's STACY. Or send us a DM on media@joinmotus.
So, Carmine, I had a question back to your business. I can't tell you how many conversations I feel like had over the last 30 years with music producers who are individuals that are doing really well, making really good money. But, I've had, 3 or 4 close personal friends to try to, move them forward of, hey, you at some point, there's only so many hours in the day for one person. I think this relates back to the gym business is, for gyms, and everyone has different goals, but if you really want to grow, you got to grow beyond yourself. You can't just, coach all the teams by yourself, spot all the back handsprings by yourself. Like you got to train and develop other people as well. So, so I feel like you had the foresight and were really one of the first people to say, hey, let's treat this like a business. This can be something special. So was there a moment in time that you transitioned from, hey, I'm just doing this, I'm making, assume some really good money, just doing it on your own, but what's the next step? And what pushed you to do that? Or you were always just kind of had that in your head that you wanted to be bigger than yourself?
It was always in my head because I came from a tech background. So the process of making music is very human. And I mean, in modern day, the idea of it being created through software is much more viable, but it wasn't at the time. So it's like, okay, well, humans can make the music, but there has to be a way to scale this that isn't linear to the amount of time a human being spends on it, or a room of human beings. I always wanted an online store. And I wanted my online store to be really tech heavy. And at the time, that was not. There was a music store, but it was really for Pop Warner, and it really wasn't for competitive. I don't want to say it was for Pop Warner. There was an online pre-made store that Mark Bryan ran, and I think Lark Wood was part of it as well. And I wanted to automate as much as I could.
I preach.
Yeah. And so coaches are sending in 8-count sheets. They're taking the time to write it out. And then I have to read it. And then I have to, assemble it. And so the online store was like, okay, well, this is a copy of what other people have. It's a pre-made store. Here's a mix. It's already made. You could add a voiceover and the story. That wasn't the goal. I was like, okay, well, we have a platform now. What's the real goal? This came from my dad. People want to make their own. And I said, no, they don't. They want to pay a pro. They want to text message a pro to say, I've got a hookup of a guy who makes music. And my dad's like, that's stupid. That's not what people want to do. And he said, trust me. He had the shirt business. Customers design their shirts. Customers want to make their own. I'm like, but they don't know anything. He says, it doesn't matter. They want to make their own. And he was really adamant, and I wasn't getting the message, but I trusted him. And so I said, all right, I guess people want to make their own. They're obviously filling out the 8-count sheet. Maybe that is them being creative and making their own. How do I let them hear it? And so that was the technology part. We have a library of music made by humans. We'll make it in snippets, 16 beats, 32 beats. And honestly, there were some packs that already were in existence that cheer music producers would use to snap together mixes quickly. So the concept even wasn't that novel. But putting it on a web-based application that worked anywhere, that was specifically for cheer music, that had a library of cheer music where the customer can drag and drop onto an 8-count sheet, which they already understand. That was the idea. Don't give them a music sequencer. That's too complicated. They already know how to use an 8-count sheet. Make the 8-count sheet play music and give them the songs to choose. So that instead of typing it in and then just crossing their fingers that it sounds good after they place the order, let them hear it before they buy it, with watermarks and all that stuff. That was the novel part. That's what the first patent was and is issued. So it came from, honestly, just looking at everything else that was web-based technologies and saying, this is really far behind. This should exist, and it doesn't. On the other half of it was, do I want all-star teams or do I just want a lot of teams? And I mean, anybody knows me well, I've never been the cool kid. We're about being accepted by the cool kid. I'm starting a business. Do I want to make football helmets for the NFL, or do I want to make football helmets for every kid who wishes they were in the NFL?
Man, that speaks to me. That is that's how I got in the gym business. I was like, because there was a lot of competition in my area, and they did a really good job. They had a focus on they were going after the teams that could win high school state. And I was going after the 40 other teams that had no shot of winning. They just wanted to get better. So, but there were way more that didn't have a shot at winning than did. So
right.
Man, I agree exactly with what you said.
Just to see that through right to the end without taking up much more time. The focus was to take something that was always out of, this is the fundamental business concept, take something that's out of people's reach and put it within their reach. Right? That works in any business across all platforms. So people weren't able to create music. Now it's created. They didn't know about the licensing. Now it's automated. And through automation, obviously your expenses are significantly lower. This customer is servicing themselves for 99% of the project. This now bankrolls you to be able to afford better people, which led us to hooking up with the Berklee Alumni Network from the Berklee School of Music and hiring some really great music producers. Yeah. And instead of saying, we're going to make amazing songs for amazing teams, we want an amazing catalog. Customer service is going to treat them as if they're the greatest teams on the planet, because why not? And so I didn't want to omit that part. It's not just the technology. You do need good people. You do need to give people something that wasn't in their reach yesterday. I do fundamentally believe that in any business. And there was an awful stigma of good teams got good service and low teams got ignored. So, I mean, that's a void in the market. Treat a brand new team with the English teacher as the coach as well as anyone else.
And you do still offer custom mixes if people want that, right? I mean, they can still get from A to Z a custom mix, kind of like a white glove service, if you will.
That's correct. It makes up about 20% of the gross revenue.
Yeah.
So,
and all of the expenses.
Where do you see, this is something that I'm interested in. Where do you see, or what do you see AI impacting cheer music, going forward? Obviously, I can get on my phone right now and under different AI services, create music, just like you've talked about. So what do you see? Do you see that having an impact in changing cheer music in the future?
It would be naive to think that it wouldn't. Remember, AI right now is the worst that it will ever be. It only gets better.
Yeah.
So we've been doing AI stuff since before it got popular. We ran ads that had AI voices in them for a long time, voiceovers. We had artists that were belligerent and hard to work with. So we took all their recordings and created models of their voice out of them that could continue to work that way. It was really a proof of concept. Is this viable? It started as I didn't want to do voice. I still do voiceovers every morning. I have the screen right here. Prestige Athletics, Firestorm. Every day I have to record these for about an hour and a half in the morning. They show up on a separate screen, just like the
MotUS Edge.
Did I do it in a cheer voice? I don't even remember. I don't think so.
I don't know, but I just
MotUS Edge.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Anyway, I really, it hits a certain point in October that's like, I'm starting to sound like this. My voice doesn't work anymore. And so we're like, how can we do this? So the whole project started with, can we just do colors? Red, black, and white, which is what every single high school, middle school does on the planet. And so it started there, and then it expanded into the girl, Erica, who hated doing voiceovers. So we cloned her voice, and then it turned out to a belligerent guy who told us to screw off. And I'm like, well, I got all these work for hire files, free license. So let me see if we can clone that. Now, generative music in today, and to answer your question, I've been fearful of that for 4 years. I've been working on that for 4 years. Platforms like Suno and Udio and Refusion are way ahead of us. I can't keep up with them. If their training data contained cheer music, this would be more of a problem. Where are the saving graces? Based on choreography. Currently, these things don't, the input is limited to what style and what, what gender, what emotions do you want to feel, and what are the lyrics? So where does it play a role right now? Give me a voiceover about Prestige Athletics, Firestorm. It's their third year, but I'm making this stuff up. And it can write you some lyrics, and most of it's throwaway. We implemented in the site a few years ago on the pre-made voiceovers, whereas you start typing your team name, it just starts spitting out voiceover options because people write the dumbest things on their voiceover orders. So we're like, why don't we just have AI make them suggestions in real time? So positive way it fit in. Another positive way it fit in, and this is really where we are going with it. Suggestions, helpers. We still have a self-service platform. Let it make auto suggestions. I see you use this song and this song. Originally, we were doing it with statistical data to simply say 93% of people would choose this song because of the other ones they chose. AI is a heck of a lot more robust of a version of that. It's helpful there. If you sat down to say, I'm going to make music for my team using Suno, let's say, because I consider them the leader. Suno Studio's coming out. Suno has Extend. It has replaced sections. It has changed lyrics. It's really amazing technology. I wish I was part of it. If you went to make cheer music on that, it's going to take you a hell of a lot. It's going to take you a heck of a lot longer than it's going to take on a cow mixer.
On here, it's fine.
Yeah, and I know that from trying. Ethically, I will not upload cheer music into their platform to try to mess around with it because I just don't believe in giving training data of that has ramifications. Don't tell me it didn't have ramifications on the music industry and contractors in general. I don't want to screw it up for cheer music people either. And in our little cheer music Facebook group, I've also shared guys, don't accelerate the monster. Don't upload cheer music into it to try to make it because they use all of your uploads for training data. It's in the terms and conditions that they can at least. So where's it in 5 years? Yeah, it'll probably make your mix. I damn well better be the one to bring that to market.
There you
Sorry,
go.
that's my.
I like it.
That's my personal
attitude. It's don't fight it. Be the leader in it.
Well, it's coming. You nailed it in what you said, Carmine. It is the worst it's ever going to be today. It's kind of like when people get upset about paying taxes. The cheapest taxes you're ever going to pay are today. So,
so up in the corner of the room is a giant GPU sitting up there, and that's where I do all my AI training for. Not really for generative music because it's just the open source stuff's just not there yet. But I'll do the voiceovers on there, and all the account mixer, essentially training it on. Here's the 100 and whatever it is, some crazy number, hundreds of thousands of mixes that people have put together. And then here's all the ones they've actually purchased. I'm going to use that as training data of how can we generate mixes based on what people have already accepted as worthy of buying.
Yeah.
And so all that training's done in-house because I don't want to give that to OpenAI, Grok, and everybody else. So we run our own models here.
Well, Carmine,
mind-blowing.
We can talk to you all day long.
Agree.
You have a brilliant mind, and you've overcome things, and it's just been incredible talking. But I've got to move on. I got to tell everybody about CheerFest right now. So I know Christmas is coming up. This would make a great Christmas gift. But if you're looking for the ultimate cheer camp experience, CheerFest is the premier summer camp for athletes ages 7 to 17. Imagine 6 days of nonstop cheer, dance, tumbling, conditioning, and fun, led by top instructors from across the country. And the best part, you leave with new skills, new friends, and memories that last a lifetime. Spots fill fast, so register now at cheerfest.com. That's CheerFest.com. Don't just cheer this summer, CheerFest. Once again, a great Christmas gift. CheerFest is at beautiful Lake Francis in Tennessee. Just a beautiful, beautiful campus and a great experience for the kids.
So Carmine, at this point in the show, we always do a quote from Simon Sinek because I love Simon and I think he has a lot of great quotes, and we just kind of unpack it quickly and get your thoughts on it. So today's quote is, "Normal is what the majority does, which is why different is so much more interesting." I thought that was a fitting quote for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
My
mom told me that something along the lines of, you lead an idiosyncratic life, but you have the IQ horsepower behind it. Something like that. It's some hyperbolic compliment. But it motivated me to be like, okay, you can do things if you want to, I guess. Like it got rid of the doubt that you can screw stuff up. That was very helpful. My parents were integral. That's the nutshell. My parents were integral in shaping me to spend my time making cheer music, in shaping me to make a business. So, thank you to them, of course. Thank you to you all.
And to do something different. You don't just make cheer music like everybody else makes cheer music. You brought something different to the market, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. That was super awesome. A very inspirational story. I didn't know about, 90% of that of your background. It's pretty cool. And would love to get you to talk next year at the MotUS conference. I think your story would be very impactful and our attendees would love it.
I agree.
My pleasure.
So before we wrap up, we ask our guests to ask a question to our listeners. So one question we post on social media the day that the podcast comes out, and we ask people to comment on the question, their answer, so that they answer your question on social media, or if they're watching the podcast on YouTube, they can comment right there on YouTube. So what would be your question, Carmine, to our listeners today?
I'm going to preface my question with my motto in life is improve the individual, start with yourself. And the question is, where you stand in life, are you headed in the trajectory that you hope to be headed in? And if not, why not?
I love that.
Great question.
I like that. That's
love
great,
that.
man. That's really good.
It's been a joy to have you on today, Carmine. Really appreciate you and love our partnership with CheerSounds. So any of our listeners out there, definitely go check out CheerSounds and everything that Carmine and his team are doing. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the MotUS Edge. Check out our shorts and like and comment. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS. Follow or show wherever you follow our show wherever you listen to our podcasts. If you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, leave us a review and tell your friends. And hey, if you're a gym owner, don't forget to join the movement and sign up for MotUS today. Thank you all for listening. We're so excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.